Happy Monday, everybody. I am sitting at my parents' house in beautiful Colombia. I have the most colorful scenery today. And I am so excited that I'm being joined by a colleague of mine, a life coach herself. Her name is Renee Weaver, and she's a life coach who helps people stop stalling and start creating what they really want right now. She helps people reconnect and align with their inner North Star so that they can get out of their own way, redefine what's possible, maximize their potential, and reach formerly unimaginable goals. I am so excited, Renee, that you're here. You have former training in psychology as well, I understand. And Renee and I are coached by the same coach. And I want to tell you guys that we jumped on a call a few weeks back and we were talking about inner wisdom and what that looks like, and what would it look like to make decisions with ease because you were following your inner intuition, your inner wisdom. And I was like, that's it. You have to come to the podcast and we need to talk about this with everybody so that we can learn from you. So welcome to the podcast. Welcome to this episode, and everybody have a notebook handy because you'll be taking notes. We'll be walking through exercises, and I know this is going to be a really fun conversation. Welcome, Renee. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, Olga.
Did you want to tell anybody anything else to them that I didn't say about yourself?
I'll just share briefly. Yeah. So like you said, I have a history. My background is in psychology. So that was my undergrad degree. And then I went to graduate school for school psychology with a minor in counseling. And I was a school psychologist for 10 years. And just like what we're talking about today, I knew in my gut, that saying we have, like in my gut, I could feel it just wasn't the right calling for me, but I didn't listen to it because I was using my brain to make the decision of why I definitely should not listen to my body in that situation. And so I stayed in it for 10 years before I finally listened to my whole body and made the decision to leave and become a life coach. That was about 2 years ago. So I've been coaching for 2 years and I absolutely love it. And I'm proof that no matter how long you've been trying to rely on one piece of information from your brain, it's possible to switch and use all of the amazing knowledge and wealth of information available to you from your body as well.
Oh, I love that. And welcome to life coaching. I've made the switch as well. And I think this is, and you know what? I don't know that this is what I'm going to do the rest of my life, but at the moment it feels that way. And I think, I know when I became a life coach, I left also a really great, safe position to have with retirement plan, with, all the perks. And that felt really safe for me to make that shift. Although my brain wanted to freak out about it, I was so in tune. Like I now I'm going to word my body since I just heard you say that. But I was so in tune. Like I placed my hand on my chest. I was so in tune with what my chest was saying, my heart was saying, that felt so secure to do. But I could tell everybody around me was really freaking out because that didn't sound logically safe. So let's dive in. Like, I want to talk about, maybe why don't we begin by, one of the reasons I really want you here is to target a subject that my clients come up with often as perfectionists and overachiever women. And that is, they find it really difficult to make decisions. And so I think you and I talked about, like, if it's just brain, yes, that ends up being like a mathematical equation. You're looking for the exact answer. And so sometimes that feels like you don't have it. So why don't we describe maybe a bit what goes on for the person who has a hard time making decisions, that perhaps is like, I'm guessing is like stepping away from inner wisdom. And then that, like, what would that person feel? Like, what are some of the symptoms of you not really utilizing your inner wisdom? And therefore, my assumption is that if you don't do it, then making decisions becomes really difficult and complicated.
Totally. And I think everyone right now, even if they haven't yet started to listen to the inner wisdom and they're hearing this conversation and they have that feeling, that little nudging in their gut, they're like, dang it. Even if they don't speak it out loud, they right now are listening like, oh my gosh, I'm being so called out right now. This is me in my life, right? And I can just go from my personal experience. So for me, when I was just in my verbal cognitive brain, which our verbal cognitive brain processes about 40 bits of information per second. Our body and our nervous system processes about 11 million bits of information per second. So we want both. Both are useful to us, but I think it's so easy to forget how much knowledge that are really our subconscious, right? Because we're not aware of 11 million bits of information, but it's in us. It's available to us. So when I was trying to push all that away and I was just in my cognitive thinking brain, trying to be really rational, some symptoms I noticed was one, and this goes along, I think, with your audience, which is leaning towards perfectionism and high achieving. It really feels a lot of times like, number one, there's a right way and a wrong way. And I know I can get it right. So why wouldn't I? Like, it's just, that's the story that we tell ourselves. Right. And I'm saying we, because I've been there. Like, I've been in your shoes.
Same.
Yeah. No judgment here. I was there for 10 years in quote unquote stuck land. Because it's like, why? Well, I know what I need to do to have a quote unquote successful life. And I'm doing air quotes because, a lot of times we base success based off the definition of those around us, of our upbringing, of the culture around us. And we forget to check in with ourselves and what that means to us. So what's happening with symptoms of living in the brain only, of using that only, is really looking outside of oneself to those around us, to the culture around us, as to help us inform our decisions versus turning inward and saying, let me stop and see what I really want. Like what is going on for me versus, well, what would they think? I remember thinking, what would other people think if I quit? Like no one, and saying things like this, no one else in their right mind would, I went to grad school for this job. I've been working it for 10 years. I have a pension and health insurance, paycheck. No one in the right mind would leave this. But again, when I'm doing that, I'm focused on outside of myself versus inside of myself, right? So I'm using just my brain to think about, well, what other people think? What would other people do? But the problem is they're not having to live my life. They're not, stuck with my choices. It's just me. So definitely looking out versus looking inward is a big one. And
hold on there. Hold that thought. I love this so much because when have you, listeners, and you, Renee, ever succeeded at knowing exactly what other people are thinking about, what other people is thinking about? We will fail.
So
That will not be a great game. Like we will all fail at that game because we're like, but I think you're thinking this. So when we ask ourselves, what would others think? We're literally walking into the land of no answer. Whatever your brain tells you is like, well, they might be thinking that, which is, So not only separating you, but like, I love it because you're now not asking the most important person who's going to be doing and taking the steps, but you're asking yourself, what would others think? And let's just notice that we do this a lot, is the general everybody.
Yeah.
Or the no one. We're not even thinking of another human, trying to think what that other human might think. It's just like, nobody will do this in my shoes. Or
everybody, nobody. Yeah.
Yes.
Like so those sweeping words of always, never, nobody, everybody, right? Like,
yes.
And that can go back to this perfectionism tendency, right? That there's a way and no one would do it this way, so I can't, right? And that's, again, just really being aware of the stories that we're telling ourselves that feels so true. So I'm trying to think, like, what else was really a cognitive way of thinking about it? Really just like trying to write down what when you write the list of like, well, why would I do this and why wouldn't I do that, when you're trying to make a decision? And that's with anything that feels important. It's not even,
we froze. So let's start again.
Okay.
Normally, when you do a list of pros and cons, is that what you were saying?
Yeah. So normally when you list, often when you're making more of what feels like a high stakes decision, some people will like list out the pros and cons. And that can be helpful. Sorry, now I've lost my train of thought. Where's I going with that? Oh, okay. So normally when you're making a high stake decisions, a lot of us will list out the pros and cons of that decision. Like, should I do this? Should I do that? And the thing with that is when we're writing them down, what we don't often realize is that we're just putting thoughts from our head onto the paper and we're believing that they're facts. So when we're living in our head, a lot of times we're not realizing that when we're thinking, we're telling ourselves stories, and they may or may not be true, and they may or may not be helpful. So if we're not really aware when we're doing those sorts of cognitive exercises, because that can be a helpful exercise and help in trying to figure out a decision, But if you're writing things down from a place of non-awareness, is this a fact? If other people looked at this, would they agree? Or is this a thought that I'm having that I'm believing wholeheartedly is a fact? Like, for example, when I was making my decision, I was telling myself things and using them as evidence as to why I shouldn't make the decision. Again, when I was just in my cognitive brain. And one of those things that I was telling myself was, there's literally no other job where I could have, I had a school schedule. So 14 weeks off a year, do something that I love and make money. There's just, it's not available. And I believed it. So when I write that down as as a con, it's not even a fact. I choose, finally, I'll tell you what someone said to finally, and I was in the right place, in my life to hear this, and it hit me. The words were, I think it's 7 words. That's just a thought, right? And I was like, what? If that's just a thought, then it's not true. Like it sounds so like rudimentary, but if you're in that place, you get it. Like, if that's not true, then I could make then there's options now, right? So when I change my perspective, things change. Now all of a sudden it's the same me, same life, but now I have all these opportunities available to me that I didn't see before. So really being aware of, when I'm in my cognitive brain only, is it true? Or is it just a thought? Being really aware of that, I think, is super helpful.
And I have a theory that when we believe thoughts that are not fact, that are created by our survival mode brain, so they're fear-based, to protect you. So you had a secure job, you had income, your brain was like, we have food, we have a roof, like, why are you getting us out of here? Like, the outside looks like the jungle, and like something might eat us, and like, right,
terrifying.
To us. Yes, it's terrifying to make changes because the brain is like, whoa, we don't know what we don't know. So so the brain tries to know what they don't know, fills out the blank, gives you all kinds of thoughts that they sound logical, but they produce anxiety. That was one of the things for me. Like, if I am in anxious mode, I know for a fact the thoughts I'm having are distortions. One, like, they're not reality. I block reality, and they're likely not factual. They sound very factual to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think we've all had crazy thoughts. Like, you're in a plane, I'm like, oh my God, I was just in a plane that was moving, turbulence. And your instant thought is like, it's gonna fall, we're gonna die. Do I have any fact that that's, or is there a wind? Like, they are all like that. But to me, my brain was like, that's it. That's exactly what's happening. Like, hug your child and say thank you for having met. Like, so dramatic. So your brain will do this and make it seem very logical. And in the context of making decisions, well, it will make whatever decision you make, that's another symptom, right? Like, there's this anxiety that no matter what decision you make, you feel uncertain about it. Right. Even though you've done all the pros and cons, and you're like, okay, I'm sold. I'm gonna decide on A. And you decide on A, and then you start regretting it fully. You're like, I should have decided on B. But if you had decided B, you would have done the same process, and you would have still created that sense of insecurity or anxiety and uncertainty within yourself, that there's no right, like you said, there's gonna be a right and a wrong way, but somehow your brain convinced you all the ways are wrong.
Exactly. So you can, like you said, your body's going to be giving you that anxiety. It's going to be being produced, and then you'll know something's not right here. You can think of your body almost like a service animal, like a service dog. It's like your little companion, and you could ignore it. But let's say you're blind and you're using that service dog, you really don't want to ignore it because it is leading you. It's leading you to a way that you want to go, right? To a clear path that it feels like is really good for you, is your truth. That's why I use the word, like, your North Star, your inner compass. So you can ignore the cues, those feelings, those twinges in your gut. And often, not most of us describe it that way, like my heart, my gut, I'm being pulled, I'm being called. You can ignore those cues, but it's just going to keep trying. That little service animal of your body is going to keep trying to get you, to your truth, on the path that for you would feel so clear and free and right. And I think something else that's important to remember is change requires discomfort. So anything that's unfamiliar is going to bring up that feeling of fear to us. The amygdala on the left side of the brain is going to say, it's unfamiliar, this is scary, right? So it's fear will always be a passenger. in the car, when you're trying to do anything, live a big life, do anything big, live your truth, there will be fear as part of that. You can expect it. So let's say, like for me, or, if you are thinking, I maybe want a new career or a different, should I go for that permit? Like whatever it is that you're leaning towards, even if it feels so true, which it did forever, so true in your gut, it is totally normal to have feelings of, on the surface, of doubt, confusion, fear, because that's part of change. That's part of the unfamiliarity of going somewhere new, of following that service animal of your body somewhere new. It's just part of it. So you can expect that and almost look for it as like, oh, I feel that on the surface level, but I still feel my truth down deep, deep, deep. I know I'm going in the right direction because change requires discomfort.
I want to say, you just brought me to a flashback, so I'm going to go on to a side note here of inner wisdom. I think you and I talked about how long it took me to make my son, and I've experienced like a lot of losses.
Yeah.
So when I was finally pregnant with him, and the bigger my belly got, the less he was a big baby, the less space there was for him to move. And for those of you who are listening, and Renee, I think you know that I support women in pregnancy after loss. That's the only thing I still do therapeutically. Mm-hmm. And I've heard all the stories. I've heard all the stillbirth stories. I've heard all of them. And they were working against me, really, when I was this pregnant. And I wouldn't feel my son moving. And my brain would be like the amygdala, like, danger. We've heard this story before. It always starts like this. And then something bad happens. And I started practicing, which we'll get into, but I started practicing listening to my body. I literally was like, okay, I know I can't trust my brain. My brain has way too much information that is all fear-based from real life stories, from my own experience of trauma. And I'm going to trust my body. And I swear to God, the serenity, like, guys, I will go from being at 100 of anxiety, driving myself to a hospital so I could hear my son's heart, to suddenly just taking a break and saying, hold on, nobody knows better than my body. And I will close my eyes and ask my body, is my baby okay? And I swear there was like a wave of serenity from my head all the way down. And then I knew, baby's fine. We don't need to go to the hospital. I would trust that, which I think comes hand in hand with getting used to asking the body. And I'm giving this example now because I can't think of a more like addictive way to want to not listen to the body. Be like, no, it's better to be safe. It's better to be safe, right? Like your brain really wants. And then I'll like make my husband turn around, like, no, we're not going to hospital. The baby's fine. My body just told me the baby's fine. I would just I would trust that so much because of the feeling it generated.
Yes, it gave me cold chills when you said that. It's beautiful. It reminds me of, I don't know if it's Oprah who said, like, the universe. So I guess with the universe, like it'll whisper and then eventually it'll shout, like if you're not listening. It's the same with your body. So this is what happened with me. I'll go back to that example we're using of knowing in my body, it wasn't the right calling, but I wasn't ready to leave. I was scared in my brain to leave. I took a year off maternity leave with my second child, and the plan was to go back after a year, but I really didn't want to. And so during that year, and it was during COVID, so we're not going anywhere. We don't we're just in our home. Everything's different. And I was listening to a lot of podcasts, and I really knew I didn't want to go back, but my brain kept coming online and telling me all the reasons why I should. And then one day when it came to where I had to decide and let them know, when I thought about going back, I literally had a panic attack. So for 10 years, my body is like, I've been giving you these feelings for forever. I'm trying to lead you and you're not listening. So let me give you this really, really big one and just confirm for you that you're not crazy and this is not right for you. And that's what it took because I hadn't listened for so long. And on the flip side, I had that, breathe, got over that. And then once I fully went all in on okay, I'm not going back. I wasn't even 100% sure what I was going to do yet, but I know I just can't. We looked at our finances, we looked at our life, I'm okay. We're okay. I'm going to figure something else out. Once I made that, it's my body knew that I had fully committed to not going back. And I was I'm not going to do that. Life is too freaking precious to go through it, feeling this dissonance between your insides and the outsides. You get one shot. And I just wasn't willing to have the risk of all the cognitive things in my mind outweigh the risk of not living a life in a way that just felt aligned and good down to my freaking bones. And when I made that decision, I kid you not, I had a feeling, it felt like a lightning bolt, like a lightning bolt of energy, just like an energy wave going from my legs all the way up and out of my chest. And I've just never, and it was just like this is good. Like, and it just, honestly, I've never had experience like that since then. And it was just amazing. Yeah.
So can we conclude then that anxiety might be part of your inner wisdom talking to you?
Yes.
I think anxiety for me, this is what I've told myself. Whenever I feel in a panic or anxiety, I know this is my body saying, the way you're thinking, not helpful. Get the fuck out of there. Like, back off. That way of thinking is not good for you. Versus before, I used to think if this gives me anxiety, it must be the truth. That was a wrong perception. The anxiety stuff. It's inner wisdom. It's telling you, like, not that way. We don't like it that way. Come back. And so I want for everybody to just think of that perception for a second. What if your panic attacks, what if your anxiety are your body's inner wisdom saying the way you're thinking isn't helping us? Get back off. It's like an alarm system going off. Absolutely. I know you have an exercise for everybody, and I want to dive in.
Yes.
For those of you listening, I think that we've explained to you in briefly, like, the symptoms of not being followed by your inner wisdom. I know we've detached from that for many logical reasons. We've been taught not to, just to be logical. And I was coached earlier this year by an incredible human mentor who said, all of your plans in life have to have logic and emotion. And if there is too much logic, it's a problem. And if there's too much emotion, there is a problem. But you can't, and like I think he mentors mostly men. I was so proud I was one of the only women sitting there. I'm like, I want to hear this whole thing. And I thought that was such a relevant conversation to have with men who are mostly wanting to think logically. They're not attached to their emotions, but women, we're more attached to our emotions, yet we're very willing to neglect that, to ignore our emotions because we don't want to be seen as too emotional. But I think that's our wisdom. Like, anytime we're doing anything, like booking a trip or making an investment, we invested real estate with my husband, and he's like very logical and number obsessed. And I'm like, but I don't have a good feeling. And I never shut that off. I'm like, I don't like this person. I don't have a good feeling about this. And you know what? It's proven to be right every single time. So absolutely, I think our plans have to have logic, and they also have to have emotion. Was it you who was telling me we have neurons in the heart?
Yes. So the heart has tens of thousands of neurons, and it sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. The gut has millions of neurons, and it has a direct highway to the brain through the vagus nerve. So those phrases, listen to your heart, trust your gut, there's a reason we say that. We feel things there for a reason. And just like you were saying, I want to normalize it too, and go even more into, it makes so much sense why this is hard for us. It's like, well, why wouldn't we just do that if like that's what worked for us? Because we're basically actively taught against that as children. A lot of times you can think of several different examples, like if you're eating dinner and you didn't finish your plate, and the parent says, well, you can't leave the table till you finish your plate. Well, all of a sudden you're ignoring your cues that your body are saying, like, I'm full. Oh, I guess I'm not. I guess I have to stuff down and be stuffed, or go outside and play, but you got to put the jacket on because it's freezing. Well, I don't want to. Put it on. It's freezing. You're not getting the opportunity to go out there, be like, I'm noticing I'm getting cold. I'm going to put the jacket on now. That choice is made for you. You don't get to tap into that feeling from your body. You go to a party and you're maybe like 5 or 6, and maybe all the other kids are over there playing, and your mom walks in with you and they're like, go on, go play. And you're just feeling a little hesitant or timid. So you're just kind of taking your time, like, come on, those are your friends. Go play. What are you doing? Come on. It's okay. It's fine. Go. Versus, oh, it's okay to feel this way right now. It's okay to take some time. So we're just it's just a cultural thing. No one's trying to harm their children, but it's an unconscious thing that has us ignore the wisdom. And then the funny thing is, when we turn into teens, it's like, go to the party and trust your gut. If something's going wrong, trust your gut. Why did I do that? Like, I've never got to practice that. What am I supposed to do? Right?
What gut, Mom? Should I borrow your gut? Because I haven't used mine. Yes.
I've been using your gut
so
so far.
True.
Yeah.
I love
And
it.
then
I
like,
love this. I love this. I love this so much. As a mom of a 3-year-old, like I can see.
yeah.
By the way, side note, why I love Montessori. Like my
Oh,
son is
yes.
in a Montessori school,
You're
and I
on.
love it. And he will continue to be. We found a private one that goes all the way to high school. I'm
Oh,
like, dreams do come true, and he's going to be
that's,
going to a Montessori.
oh my God. We are in a smaller town. Ours only goes through 6th grade and we're on a wait list because my daughter starts kindergarten this fall. So fingers crossed.
I hope for you because it's
Fingers crossed.
like I walk into and this is going to be interesting for all of you to listen to because this is the philosophy of Montessori. People think it's so structured, and it's like it's based on the child's inner wisdom, which is so beautiful. This
Yes.
one classroom I walked into, primary school, 5 students sitting in a lecture, a teacher quietly whispering the lecture. Same classroom, 2 other students doing math work, two other students doing art work, 2 students going out for a run. And I'm like, how the heck do they get shit done here? And the teacher was like, listen, they're giving their work for the week. And then they're asked to feel and think when they want to do it. That every single one of them accomplishes their work for the week. Like I get shivers to think about like what would have happened in our life. What would happen to more adults if they were given the freedom to just listen to when and how they were feeling, what their body needed, and then act upon that. Like
Yeah.
more people love math. More people
Yeah.
will like know exactly what they want to do when they leave high school because they'll have like a clear understanding. So
Yeah. I love that.
bathroom side note.
Yeah, I think I don't want if people are out there like, oh my gosh, I did that to my kid yesterday. I forced them to put on a coat or eat the
Yes.
like don't shame yourself. There's, that don't take that as like a way to like beat yourself up. Take that as like an opportunity to just ask yourself a question if actually would it matter? And you can take this opportunity if you so choose. I invite you to change the generational pattern, to change your children and the fact that they could be a generation that learns how to trust themselves, and like where could they go in their lives if that is something that you are actively teaching them right now. So trust me, it's in our culture. I still catch myself like, put on your coat. Oh wait, just here it is. If it gets cold, it's right here, right? So don't beat yourself up
Oh
about
my
that.
god, no, I was telling my son something like, eat all your food. And then he tells me, I am done eating food. And I'm like, okay. You know better.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't own your
We're
belly.
human.
Like I guess you know.
We're human. Yeah.
So yes, love that. Don't
When
use
you were
it
saying,
against you.
yes, and when you were saying that what the person said about logic and emotions, it made me think of a quote I've heard, which was, decisions are made in the body and plans are made in the mind, the brain. The brain it makes such a better servant than master. So use the wealth of information in your body. Get used to going in instead of turning outward. Get used to turning into yourself, feeling your heart, put your hands on it if that helps. And I'll give you an exercise for doing this. And feel the decision. Use the service animal guide of your body to make the decision, and then use the amazing capability of your brain to execute
To make it happen. Make it happen. Oh my god, I love this. That quote just spoke to me. Decisions
so
are
good?
made in the body, plans are made in the head. Because it
brain.
brings so much truth to me. Like it's absolutely accurate, even if you're
Yes.
not aware. So for those of you who struggle with decision making, this is where the solution is at. Pay attention to what decision your body has already made, and trust it, and then allow the brain to support you in that decision that you've made.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive into this exercise. I'm curious.
Okay, so this is an exercise called the body compass, and this is an exercise I learned from Martha Beck. Love her. If you don't listen to her, she's a life coach, one of the OGs. She's great.
Yeah.
And this exercise, so you can think, like I said, of your body as a compass. And you have your own North Star inside of you, and it's trying to lead you in the right direction for your life so that you feel alignment and congruence. And so your insides match your outsides, and that is possible for you. And so one way it's like, well, how do I do this? Because when, since discomfort is required because of change, how do I know if it's discomfort or what I should do? This is an exercise you can come back to in whatever decision you're trying to make to help you do that decision, and use your body as a compass to get where you want to be in your life and feel aligned and congruent. So listeners, whoever, you can close your eyes if you'd like. If you're driving, maybe, do this later so you can really feel it, because I'm going to be asking you to really go into your body on this. So just get comfortable and close your eyes if that feels good to you, and go to something in your life where you just knew it was wrong for you. It could have been a job you were in, a relationship you were in, a situation you're in, you just knew it was wrong. So take that in. And as you're thinking about that thing that you just knew was wrong, take a deep breath in and let it out and put yourself right back into that situation. And don't worry, we're going to come on the other side. So we'll get rid of this feeling. But for now, go into it. Go to that relationship that you knew was wrong all along. Go to that job you knew that was wrong all along, or that situation you're in, right? Be there. Put yourself there. You can close your eyes, take a deep breath again, and we're going to start at your feet, and we're going to intentionally sweep your body and see what's there. What are the sensations? You can wiggle your toes. Just notice the sensations in your feet. And as you're thinking about that situation that was just, you knew it was wrong for you, go up your legs, up into your pelvic bowl, into your gut, and notice what sensations are there as you're putting yourself back there in that time. Up to your solar plexus and your chest. Drop down and let your body express what it was feeling in that moment. You can just keep your muscles relaxed, just allow that feeling to arise and notice those sensations. Like I said, we're going to fix this, so don't worry if it feels uncomfortable. Your body is speaking to you about what this feels like to you. Go to your neck, your shoulders, and down your arms. Just notice the sensations. And then up the base of your throat. Notice any sensation there. Up the back of your neck, and just kind of up through your head, your face, and imagine just like this feeling of it being so wrong for you, just soaking into your whole body. Now from your head down to your toes. Let the feeling be big. Take a deep breath. Feel those sensations in your body and exhale. This is how your body signals to you when you're going in the wrong direction. So right now, I want you to describe to yourself the physical sensations you were feeling. Give it a strange word. Like for me, I think I called it invisible constriction falling inward. Some people have said like a numb ghost, electric hell, truckload of gravel. Describe it in funny words, descriptive words, a little phrase, what that feels like. So you always remember. What's yours, Olga? Do you have it?
Sticky gum. It feels like it was so sticky. I couldn't get out.
Okay, so listeners, get your little phrase there. And now that you have that, we're going to bring this metric in. And we can call it the happy meter, and it goes from -10 to +10. So that feeling you were just feeling. So for Olga, sticky gum, right? For me, invisible constriction falling inward. That is your -10. Whatever your little phrase was, whatever you were feeling in your body, that is your body guide, right? Your little animal service guide. That's what it feels like. That's what you know. When I'm feeling that sticky gum, I'm at a -10. My body's saying no, hell no. It's saying hell no, right? Not just no, hell no. So now I want you to shake it out, like literally shake it off. Move around in your chair, stretch, take a deep breath in, let it out. And we're going to do another one that's going to feel better. Now, everyone has suffered, but not everyone's felt like great joy. So just go to the best you can find. Hopefully everyone listening has a moment and a time where they just felt so right, so whole, so grounded, so in their body, in a place that felt right, in a job that felt right, in a relationship that felt right, just in a day that felt right. You just felt on top of the world and so inhabited into your body. So go to that place right now in your body. And we're going to do that body scan again. That beautiful, affirming time. Be there now. You can close your eyes. And again, we're going to start with the feet. You can wiggle your toes and just get the sensation of what's going on with your feet. And holding in your mind that moment, that time where everything felt so right. And moving up your legs, what sensation do you feel there? I see Olga feeling it. What are your legs? What do you feel there? And up to your knees and thighs, and up to your hips and your pelvic bowl, and deep into your gut. Drop in and let your body tell you what it feels like. Your plexus into your lungs and heart, Let it spread over your shoulders and down your arms. Yes, feeling that good up through your throat, up your neck and your head. And now just feel that amazing sensation soaking into you like water from your head all the way down to your toes. Big deep breath in, let it go. Let that feeling fill you. And again, think of a descriptive phrase that describes what that feels. For me, it was bees and sunshine. What about you, Olga?
Loving grace. Just like
Loving
so
grace.
much love. Yeah.
And I'm going to say it was beautiful watching Olga. She was just holding her chest and almost like smiling.
I
I could
have
see
teary eyes too.
teary eyes. I saw like the loving grace emanating from her. So listeners, what is your phrase? Get it right now. And once you have that, you know what that feels like. That is your plus 10 on the happy meter until something better happens, and it will. But for now, you have your phrase, and that's your plus 10, and feel what that feels like. When you have that feeling, that is a hell effing yes from your body. You can trust it. 0 can be neutral. And so you can use your body as a compass to say, okay, I have a decision in front of me. What am I feeling? Let me drop in real quick. Give yourself a couple moments to drop in to your body and be like, okay, what is that? A plus 8? I'm good with that. That was a -6. I don't want to do that. Right. And I want to offer that you can really start to use this exercise in ways that don't feel like big, like not like, do I quit my job or not? Definitely you can use it. But if you just want to like get a feel for it, you know, for some reason, although okay, what I'm going to say is when you go out to eat and you're trying to pick on the menu, oftentimes I feel like a lot of us, that feels like big, but it's not high stakes, right? So go out next time you go out to eat, look at the menu. There's a couple things you're choosing from. Instead of polling the table for what you should ask, right? Like looking outward, go into your body and be like, okay, maybe this feels silly. I don't care. I'm just going to like pause for a moment. Okay, like chicken sandwich or salad, like which one feels better, and go with whichever one is higher to the plus 10, and start to do small decisions like that. What time do you want to meet you? Okay, let me think. 6:30 or 7:30. Hold on. Okay, this one feels better. Start playing with it in ways that don't feel like it's high stakes. And then you'll be able to find that you can trust yourself, and it feels good to trust yourself. You don't have to feel confused about your lunch choice. Like it can just feel easy, right? And then you can bring it into decisions with relationships as another piece of information, right? As a whole, as a piece of the puzzle when you're making decisions. So you're not neglecting all of that wisdom. You're adding it into everything you have. Make the lists if that feels helpful, and then use your body to help make that final decision, right? And then your brain to plan it. You can use this for anything. I can take it a few more directions. I don't know if you want to say anything, Olga.
Oh my God. I just want to say that I love this. You had me in tears and you had me in anxiety. I love doing the exercise. I'm very visual. So like even visualizing being back in the scene that I shouldn't have been, or that I had, I became aware of this, guys, because maybe this happens to you if you're highly sensitive like I am. I'm highly, highly sensitive. So for me, the situation, if somebody shares something with me that then I could have just walked away and be like, that's their story, but I made it be my own story. So my biggest anxiety became, what if that's also truth for me? What if what happened to her happens to me? And that has persecuted me for years. That thought, like, oh, we don't want that to happen to me. And here's what happened. When I was there, before she shared, I started having anxiety. I started having the sticky gum experience even before she talked. And I think in retrospect now, the lesson learned, if I have that feeling, I might tell the person, I don't think I'm ready to hear this. I'm going to step away and go. It wasn't in like a coaching session. It wasn't me working. It was up here. And I was not expecting it, right? And so, but my body knew whatever was coming out of that mouth was not going to be easy for me to hear. And I had that sticky anxiety. And so I'm still going to take this to a next level, because if you're highly intuitive like I am, the body might feel something like, walk away from this one. And my brain will be like, but you have to listen to what they're going to say. And I think this is it. It's a done deal. Like sometimes my body makes that decision even before we know, because my body knows.
Yes.
And I need to know why or how.
Exactly. And that is the power of this, Olga. It's in just learning to almost like let go and trust. And then once you start to do that and learn like, oh, that worked out for me. it's going to get easier and easier, knowing that the first time I do it, it's going to be like, what am I doing? I don't know, but I know this feels like a -8 and I don't want -8s in my life. I don't want that. It's not what I'm like, it doesn't feel right to me. So it involves some trust, and it gets so much easier after you start doing it. It reminds me of, so there's a study that was conducted where they had like, there was 2 sets of playing cards on the table. And so like the left side, it was stacked. So the participant didn't know, but the left side was stacked so you could win the game like faster. And the right side was stacked so you couldn't, based on the rules of this game, right? So, but the people didn't have any idea. They just knew the rules of the game, what they were trying to do. And they would just turn over 1 from the right side, 1 from the left side, 1 from the right side, 1 from the left side. And they were supposed to, as soon as they could, like know which stack could help them win. And like, then they could move to that stack and only pull from that one. They could win the game. Does that make sense? So they were stacked, yep. The people, okay. Well, before, and they were hooked up to like, you know, I don't know, the things like to your scalp and to your sweating and all that stuff, like your body sensations, like perspiration, all those things. The body started having reactions to the stack that was wrong. Like it was reacting, the body was like perspiring and the pulse was going up, the heart rate was changing when they were going, because the body knew, like they already was aware that that was a stack that wasn't like the one that would win. And it took like, I think 80 more card turns before their brain said, hey, this one's better. Like this one is definitely better. 80 more card turns. Like the body,
incredible.
Like physiologically knew. And so that's power that you can tap into anytime you want with this body compass exercise.
And I don't know if it's because in my pregnancy I wanted to rely so heavily. I told myself my body will tell me something's up. That I don't know, like you might relate to this, and those of you who had babies might relate to this, where you can't explain it, but you know your baby likes and your baby doesn't like. Yeah. And so I knew for a fact that laying down on my left side was not good for the baby. He hated it. How could I explain that? I don't know, but I never slept on that side. Like I would go on that side and it would be like somebody was pinching me and like, oh, he doesn't like that side. I'm going on this side. But when I was giving birth, the nurse was like, we have a hard time hearing his heart. Can you shift to the left? I'm like, oh no, he's not going to like that side. And she's like, haha, you're funny. Lay down on that side. I'm like, okay. The moment I went on that side, she's like, oh, he's in distress. You need to move. I'm like, told you.
Told you.
He's in distress every time. And so I'm sharing this story because I want you guys to think of the times where you've just known something and you're like, I just know this thing. I know it. Like, I know my name is Olga. I know this. Can't explain it with my brain, but I can explain it with my body. I think we've all had moments like that gives us like the impression that, oh, maybe we can tap into this more often. And then just be right. Like you just know. And so, yeah, so I just wanted to share because when I talk to other women with other mothers, especially, like I feel that we're more in tune after having experience or in a pregnancy, you kind of get used to your body changing and it's different for everybody. So, okay, this exercise was phenomenal. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me say, what's so interesting with that is, as a culture, we talk about the mother's instinct, right? And go figure that we actually trust ourselves when it comes to that. We don't talk about like our instinct to know what's right for us in our career or what we're being called to do, right? Like, because it is going to feel harder to do things that we're not used to doing. And what I want to offer to your audience, I want to challenge them. Just answer this question. You know, what would I have to be willing to feel in order to trust my body so that my insides were aligned with my outsides? And how would my life change if I did that? Like, go out 6 months. How would my life change if for the last 6 months I stopped, I took a pause, I did the body compass, and I only did things that my body was leaning towards the +10 on, and I trusted myself? How would that change my life? Like, write those down. Really honest.
So what would I have to be willing to feel?
Yeah, first, what would I have to be willing to feel to even just do this?
Yeah.
And then, like, I think then in deciding and thinking about and going out 6 months of like, what would change if I lived this way every day? Because then when you see the beauty and the alignment that will come from that, I'm guessing that's what you'll find. Then you can ask yourself, like, is it worth it? Am I willing to feel that thing to get that result of, gosh, my insides matching my outsides and just feeling so in line and congruent and not sick on the inside, knowing I'm not following my truth.
Oh my God, I love this. And what I love most is that I always tell people within you, lies all the answers that you ever need. And this is such a great exercise to come back home to you, to your wisdom, which will always know better than your neighbor about you, than your doctor, than your coach, than your therapist. You can ask us all, what do you think I'm going to like better? And we're going to try to think like you would think if we were in your shoes. And even that doesn't get even remotely close to being you and your own wisdom. So I think this is the way to go, guys. I think that is so special that we just feel and own that we have wisdom internally and that we can rely on that wisdom.
Would you like me? So there's one other thing I'd like to share if there's time. If not, that's totally fine.
Yeah, we'll have 10 minutes. Go.
Okay. So what I want to share is for some people whose brains are saying, but what about like my job feels horrible. I can't just quit. I can just quit tomorrow. Like I don't have the, I get you. Yeah. Don't just quit. If you don't have anything lined up, you have to make money to feed your family, right? What I want you to just be aware of is like noticing, okay, this is what my body's offering me. And now once you are aware of the body compass and you're knowing like my goal is to make as many plus 10 decisions as I can, like it is possible. Like really for me in my life, I don't do anything that's not like at least an 8, 7 or 8 or plus on the plus or higher. Like that is what I'm actively working towards intentionally every day. But some things you just maybe don't have a choice. So there's like the 3 B's. So once you have the body compass, think of maybe something it is that you have to do tomorrow, like 3 things you have to do, or just something that you're thinking about that you want to change. And you can bag it, barter it, or better it. So get the number on the happy meter of what that thing is. If it's a negative, you don't want to do it, can you just not do it? There are a lot of things that we think we must do that maybe you don't have to. Like, I really enjoy it to be tidy in my living room, but it doesn't have to be every toy picked up before bed every night. I could just bag it and not do it, and no one's going to die. I can do that. You can too, right? Barter it would be like, maybe I really don't like doing something. For me, it's a -9 on my scale. Maybe it's not so bad for my husband. So maybe I could be like, hey, could you do this? Because I freaking hate it. And it's a negative, makes me not happy on my scale. You would not so much. And I'll do something else for you. Trade, right? And then if you just can't do either one of those things, you can better it. Okay, this is something that, if it's more of like something that's on your list for tomorrow, not necessarily a life decision, right? With that, I would say go with your heart, figure out a way to make it happen. If it's something on your just list for tomorrow, how can I better it? Like we have to clean the dishes or else we're not going to be dishes to use, right? So I can turn on music I like and dance with my kids. That makes it so much better. I could listen to a podcast while I'm doing XYZ. That makes it so much better. So use that, the bag it, barter, or better it for things in your daily life. I also just want to offer for those big choices, for the relationship you're in, for the job you're in, for where you want to move, where you want to live in your life. Really go in, get your number, what it is on that scale. And if it's like deep into the negatives, it's not right for you. Trust that and start to make a plan. What's the next smallest thing you can do to move toward alignment, move toward neutral, and then move it all up to a +10 because it is so possible for you.
Okay, Renee, you should have told me you were going to be a shining star in this episode and that my life was going to be transformed by listening to you.
I'm passionate about it. I'm very passionate about people not living a life that feels dissonant, where their insides don't match their outside, where they're like, this is fine. It doesn't have to be just fine. You get, like I said, I feel so passionate about the fact that you get one life. Life is a miracle. We're just like floating on a ball through space. It's a freaking miracle. Everything matters and nothing matters. And that's the beauty of it. You get one precious life. What do you want to do with it? You get to decide. Like, I don't want to sit back and let anyone who wants to, like, if you want to make a change, it is possible. We can make it happen, right? It is possible.
Yeah, I love it. And what a great reminder. So I think that, like, I'm sure you hear this in your coaching as well. My clients are like, you're not telling me anything new, but I needed to be reminded of it. And this is exactly what this episode feels to me. I'm like, what a great reminder.
Yeah.
To anybody else, to the all million of you who are listening to this episode, thank you so much for coming and listening. And if you want to get a hold of Renee, you just have to go into our show notes, or her links are there. You can. She's a life coach, so I guess you still do private sessions.
Yeah, I do one-on-one. Yeah, I have a
one-on-one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
So you can, if this is something, if she spoke your language and you feel like talking to her, she would be a great person to go to. For my CEOs listening to this, you guys are going to have Renee come and give you her own little workshop privately, just perks of being my client. I'm excited. Like, I swear, everybody who's come and who's been signed up to come into the group is being phenomenal. And I am just like, when you think it can get better, you made that point. You think you're at a 10 in your group, you're like, I love this. And then it gets better. And you're like, holy macro, how can this be? So amazing. Guys, if you like this episode, share it with everybody. Anybody who you think could use their inner wisdom a little bit more, share this episode. The idea behind podcasts, at least for me, creating a podcast, releasing episode, is that we put a lot of value into the universe that is absolutely free. And this is what the social worker me likes doing. I like creating content that is going to be life-changing for you. It is high quality. We have the best professionals coming. I give you my heart, and like, as you can hear, my guests also give you a bit of their heart. We're passionate about changing this planet for a better place, and so it will help us hugely in our collective agreement to change the world if you share these episodes with others who you think might benefit from them. So thank you so much for listening. I'll see you guys next Monday. Bye, Renee. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was wonderful.
Are you a high-achieving woman who struggles with self-criticism, constantly questioning your worth and abilities? Imagine a life where you break free from the chains of self-doubt and step into the unshakable self-confidence that is within you. It's time to detox your mind and unleash your true potential, my friend. Introducing Detox the Mind from self-critical to self-confident. It is back. This is a transformative life 5-day workshop designed exclusively for high-achieving women like you. Join us for this empowering journey from June 19th until the 23rd at noon Eastern Time, where you will discover practical strategies to silence your inner critic, cultivate self-compassion, and unlock newfound confidence that propels you towards success. Through engaging exercises, guided meditations, interactive discussions, you will gain invaluable insights, including techniques to identify and challenge the self-limiting beliefs that hold you back, tools to develop a positive and empowering self-talk, practices for cultivating self-compassion and nurturing a kind of relationship with yourself, strategies to embrace failures as learning opportunities and bounce back stronger, mindfulness exercises. You will have your own workbook to work along. And this is all going to be led by me. And you're going to be surrounded by a very supportive community of like-minded women. Best part, all of this is for $97. So scroll down to the show notes, go ahead and sign up for Detox the Mind. Remember, you deserve a break from the chains of self-criticism and step into a life filled with self-confidence and empowerment. So join us for Detox the Mind, from self-critical to self-confident, and embark on your own transformative journey. Talk to you guys soon.